Welcome back to this phenomenal yet chilly Thursday, folks. Time to look at the state of the carrier with this carrier update. Now, one of the big things has been the ongoing capacity bleed off. And looking at recent data, it looks like we're seeing a little bit of a spike following the holidays.
Yeah, so we're looking at net carrier authority. So that's the new ones and the ones that are exiting. So we take them and add them together. And of course, for last week, we had negative 1,194. Now, we talked about this a few times. During COVID, we were adding around 1,500 new net authorities per week. And we've averaged throughout 2023 about negative 460 per week. We're expecting this to add up as, you know, we had kind of a very mute fourth quarter, no real big holiday season. A lot of carriers depend on that extra money to get them through the first quarter of the next year. That money's not there. So what we're going to see here is we're probably going to see an increase in the exit of net carrier authority. So negative being exit. So right now we've dropped down for, you know, like I said, we averaged about 460. We've dropped down last week to negative 1,194. So we're seeing that pick up some. Now, is it because this is the last month of the year and I say year end where maybe a lot of people's authorities or a lot of people's insurance expires and they just kind of go ahead and say, you know what, I'm done anyways, just go ahead and let it all go at the end of the year. We'll see. That could add to it just a little bit. Sometimes the end of the months are when a lot of insurances expire, and therefore you'll see the carrier authority increase. Now, the reason we look at carrier authorities is that connection with insurance. You could be a driver and you could have your own MC number, Thomas, but when you retire, you might want to keep your MC number because it was yours for 25 years. Then, you know, you have to pay pay to keep it up, but not a whole lot of money. Well, with your active authority, you have to have active insurance. And insurance can get expensive. Even if it's just one truck, it can be very expensive per month. So you're probably not going to keep your authority active if you're not moving that truck and trying to make money with it.
And I think that's an important thing because having an active authority implies so many extra steps in addition to the insurance, making sure you have a location, your business information is up to date. So this is really fascinating to watch. And I know the FMCSA, whenever they send batches, especially around the holidays, every 5 to 7 days there's system updates. But with the folks at Carrier Details, they also use other sources. We blend it in to give us a good idea. So this is a really good example of how I think the seasonality is at play. And as weather conditions, you know, it's January, moving into February. For a lot of drivers, at least in our personal experiences, there's been a few that'll say, you know what, I'm just going to drop out and I'll come back in the spring when it's a little easier to drive. There's almost a migratory aspect of it as well.
We may see that, but we'll see how much does it pick up in the spring, or is it still negative? So yeah, some may take some time off, but they're going to have some money saved up because they're going to have to pay for that truck that sits.
That does, yeah, it's, if you're not driving, the truck payment keeps coming. Looking at used truck prices as well. Talked about this earlier in the week, the fear of being underwater, UT5 and UT3 for 3 and 5 year old used truck prices. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Let's go back to 2022. So here at the beginning of 2022, roughly 120 grand, 125 grand for a 3-year-old truck. And this is one reason that might help these guys fight to stay in the game is because let's say they went out right now in 2022 and bought a 3-year-old truck.
Couldn't get a new one. And that's nearly the cost of a new one if you ever like.
Couldn't get a new one. That was the problem. And so, well, if you take that truck now, it's a $40,000 truck.
Oh, ouch.
And now you've paid loan payments on it for only a couple of years. You're nowhere near. You know, you might be down to a 90 grand. So it might cost you $50,000, $60,000 to get out of that truck payment.
Yep.
You may not have that money. That's not easy to come up with. That's a huge. So they may be stuck in there. They may lose their houses, lose cars, lose everything. And that may be one aspect that keep in mind that might be these guys are just really trying to hang in there and keep their business going, operate at making no money or breaking even, you know, or losing a little bit of money, and they're hanging in there trying to turn this around or hoping this will turn around, but eventually they're just going to draw it out longer and probably still eventually go bankrupt. but hurt everybody else as well.
I think it's something to watch as well. Talk about a haircut, and we're not in the hairstyling business, folks, but instead of going to Great Clips, why don't you buy a used Class 3 back in 2022? Heck of a haircut. Thank you so much, Donny, for this update. We'll be back 3 more times in the program, don't worry. But speaking of what's coming up, we're going to toss it over to Kaylee Nix to take a look at some top stories.